So you sent these over about the Lockwood GE6XT system.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, my interest is officially piqued.
Yeah.
It seems like some really serious next-level security stuff.
Yeah.
Especially all this talk about unauthorized key duplication.
It's a hot topic, that's for sure.
Really?
In a world of high-tech gadgets sometimes,
Yeah.
The most effective solutions are the simplest ones.
It's back to basics.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, so we've got a blog post here from the Lock Mob. They're a locksmith in Brisbane. And they've got the official Lockwood GEN6XT page.
Okay.
And they both seem very excited about this system.
They do.
And this legally protected status really jumps out.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
Well, it seems like Lockwood is serious about protecting its technology. They've got patents in place in Australia until 2036, and that basically gives them a monopoly on creating and replicating these keys. It's not just about picking a lock.
Right.
It's about making sure that nobody can copy the key without permission.
That's a bold move,
Hmm.
but I can see the appeal, especially for businesses or anyone really concerned about security.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so what makes this system so unique? I mean, they mentioned an FP2 stepped key shoulder system and a two-stop surface system.
Right.
Doesn't mean a lot to me.
It's very technical, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Imagine your typical key, right? But instead of just a simple cut, the GEN6XT key has got all these extra grooves and ridges.
Okay.
Almost like a fingerprint. And it's way more complex than a traditional key, which is where that stepped key shoulder and that two-stop surface comes in.
Okay.
These features make it, well, close to impossible to duplicate the key without authorization and some pretty specialized equipment.
So it's like a lock and a fingerprint all in one.
In a way, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no wonder they're so confident about that legally protected status.
Exactly.
But I got to ask, beyond all the fancy tech talk,
Sure.
what about durability?
Right.
Are these keys flimsy?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Both these sources actually emphasize that the keys themselves are made from nickel silver,
Uh-huh.
which is known for its strength and its corrosion resistance.
Okay. They're going
So
to hold up.
they're built to last.
Text?
They can withstand wear and tear.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that caught my eye was this mention of color coding.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Okay.
Is that just aesthetics?
No. It's
Okay.
definitely practical.
Okay.
Lockwood offers different colored inserts for the keys.
Okay.
So you can imagine if you're managing a lot of keys, it makes visual identification a lot easier.
Oh, wow.
Like a big bunch of keys.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Especially if you're running a business or even if you have a large house,
Absolutely.
red for emergency exits, blue for staff areas. That's very clever.
Very smart.
But let's say I'm sold on this whole GGN6XT thing.
Okay.
What's the upgrade process like?
Okay.
Am I ripping out all my doors, starting from scratch?
That would be a bit extreme.
Yeah.
One of the things I found really interesting is how straightforward the upgrade process seems to be. The Lockmob blog, they stress that you often only need to replace the cylinder,
Really?
not the entire lock.
Oh, okay. So it's more like a swap than a complete overhaul.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a relief.
Much simpler.
Yeah.
They actually call it a simple, cost-effective security solution.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Minimizes disruption.
And I bet for businesses especially, that's a big deal.
Huge. Plus,
Yeah.
minimizing that downtime.
Absolutely. Time is money.
Exactly.
Speaking of cost-effective solutions, you mentioned earlier that Lockwood has a secure dealer network.
Right.
What does that even mean for someone who's like, okay, I want this system?
Sure.
Like, how hard is it to find someone to actually install this thing?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to that tight control that they're aiming for.
Yeah.
Lockwood's not just selling locks.
Right.
They're creating a system, and it's built on trust and accountability.
Right.
To become a dealer, you have to go through a vetting process, which ensures that they're partnering with reputable locksmiths who understand the importance of security and, making sure those keys aren't duplicated irresponsibly.
Right. So it's like quality control from the design of the key all the way to the person who's installing it.
Absolutely. Every single step of the way.
Wow.
It's about ensuring that those legally protected keys stay protected.
Makes sense.
Now, this system seems fantastic for traditional locks, but
Yeah.
there's a bit of an elephant in the room.
Go around.
It's the digital age.
Right.
We're increasingly used to controlling everything with our phones.
From our thermostats to our cars,
Pretty much. Yeah.
So where does a system like GEN6XT fit into this world that's going keyless?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
It is.
Are we seeing, like, the last stand of the physical key?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It made me think,
Yeah.
because the lock mob, they emphasized that GDN6XT is ideal when smart locks aren't feasible or even practical.
Right.
And there are still scenarios, let's be honest, where a physical key reigns supreme.
Right. Like sheds,
Yes, yeah.
industrial sites, maybe even security cabinets or something like that.
Absolutely.
Where you want that extra level of like, okay, only a physical key can open this.
100%.
Yeah.
Plus, even smart locks have vulnerabilities.
That's true.
Hacking, power outages, glitches, you name it.
All things that can disrupt even the most high-tech systems.
A good point. We rely so heavily on technology these days.
We do.
It's easy to forget that it can fail. Yeah,
Well,
sometimes that old-fashioned way is the most reliable.
sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones, right?
I think so.
It's about having the right tool for the job.
Makes sense.
And sometimes that tool is a good old-fashioned, well-designed, secure key.
Yeah, it's like that best of both worlds kind of thing.
Yeah.
Traditional access,
Yeah.
but with that modern security upgrade.
Yeah, and it's not about rejecting, new technology or anything. It's
Mhm.
about recognizing that there's still a place, a need for,
Sure.
really strong traditional security measures.
Yeah, especially when they've been refined and enhanced as much as this one.
Exactly.
It's really impressive. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from those legal protections and that really unique key design
Right.
to even just like the practical stuff,
Yeah.
like the installation
Yeah, absolutely.
and that whole secure dealer network.
Which is important.
Yeah, it really is. It's all connected.
Yeah. And those color-coded keys.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget that.
Such a simple idea, but man,
So smart.
so effective, especially if you're dealing with a lot of doors, a lot of keys.
Organization is key, right?
It really is, in more ways than one.
Exactly.
So to wrap things up here,
Sure.
if someone's listening to this and they're like, man, this GSE6C thing, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What's like the one thing you really want them to remember about this?
I think the big takeaway for me is that security is not, a one-size-fits-all thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And the GEN6XT system really highlights that there's a very real need
Yeah.
for, strong physical key control, even with all this digital stuff going on.
It's a good reminder
It is.
that even in our high-tech world, sometimes those
Absolutely.
those like physical solutions are still incredibly relevant.
They are. They're not going anywhere.
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I learned a lot.
Me too.
Thanks for, walking us through all this.
My pleasure.
All the ins and outs of the Lockwood GEN6XT system.
There
I feel like I could go rekey my whole house now.
you go.
Well, for you listening, we'll leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
We focused a lot on physical keys today,
We did.
but how can we apply these same ideas of, restricted access?
And really tight control to our online lives.
That's a good question.
It's something to think about.
It is.
Well, on that note,
Yeah,
this has been another deep dive.
it has. Thanks for listening. See you next time.